to space to unwind. So this is just a really quick video for anyone who's practicing at home these days. A lot of us are in quarantine or have chosen that the best option for us is to practice from home instead of going out into studios when they're open or gathering with friends to practice. And maybe at home you don't have props. And a lot of our practices, we can get away without props. If you're practicing something like a hatha class or even a vinyasa flow online, you might not need to have props in your practice. And that's great. But maybe you do. You can just like blocks under your hands to lift the floor up to where you are so you're more comfortable in something like a down dog. But if you're practicing with me during the week, we have practices like restorative meditation and a yin, where we really focus on reaching into the body. And in those practices, I really encourage you to have some kind of props available so that we can support the body to be able to find spaces of ease in the best way to be able to make the practice your own. So when you're practicing at home, yoga practice or yoga props are not always something that you just have in your closet. So rather than going out and buying some or ordering some, you can get by with what you have in your own house for the most part. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. So, first prop that we're going to look at is blocks. So yoga blocks. If you practice in a studio, you know they come in a couple of sizes. These are full-size blocks. You can also find half-size blocks, which are actually about 2/3 the thickness of these blocks rather than actually half the size of the blocks. These ones are very dense, but they're also soft so that you don't feel the edges harshly in your back or under parts of your body when you're using them to support. And they're awesome. If you're looking to purchase some, you can get them lots of places. You can get them at your local Walmart. You can find them easily online. And if you practice with me, you can reach out to me and let me know, and I can help you source some blocks. But if you don't want to buy any, that's okay. So when you're at home, depending on how often you're going to use blocks, books work great as a substitute. So try and find 2 books that are actually fairly thick. These ones aren't actually all that thick. But whatever you find, you want them to be the same size, because having 2 different blocks underneath your hands or underneath your body can be awkward. It shifts the balance of your shoulders and your hips depending on what you're doing. So 2 blocks work great. So what I've found, because I did a little bit of practice with the blocks too to find out exactly what that feels like if I was practicing at home with these instead of regular yoga props, is that you want to keep them on their large side down. So if you need more height, you want to get a couple of books and stack them, because unless they're really nice thick books, putting them on their edge, regardless of which edge you have, they're pretty shifty because they're not really meant to do this, right? So let's just try a couple of poses, right? So something like a supported bridge. So we would come down onto our back, bend the knees so the feet come to the floor. You press your feet into the floor enough to lift your hips, and then you slide your yoga blocks, or in this case, our books, underneath your sacrum. So here you're going to choose your heights. You can build your height up with multiple books. So I have 2 here. You could have 3, you could have 5, depending on what you want and the thickness of your books. And then you can hang out and settle in. So from here we can hang out in bridge. We could come up into waterfall. You could do all kinds of practice in your hatha or your yin from here, really comfortably with the books under your sacrum. Slide those out, come back up. So say we're in hatha practice and we're looking to lift the floor up to give us more space in our downward facing dog. Again, books are great. You put them under your hands instead of your blocks. So books with your hands. Again, you need to build the blocks up to be a little bit higher rather than turning them on their long side because of the instability. You're going to want to stack maybe 4 blocks. So books 2 on each side maybe. But books under the hands, start to shift yourself into your downward facing dog, and that feels great. So books can work absolutely as a great option and a substitute for your yoga blocks. So I'm going to put those aside. blankets. So depending on how warm your space is or whether you're doing restorative or yin practice, blankets are often really, really supportive. You can turn them into a meditation cushion. You can give them as a pillow under the head, make it softer under the body. You can cover yourself up in Shavasana. A blanket is a blanket. Find a couple of your favorite cozy blankets that have, you know, a little bit of durability to them so that they just have a little bit of substance to them. It just makes them a little bit more useful in your yoga practice. So this is actually a Mexican blanket. You can find them online if you don't have something similar-ish at home. And again, you can always reach out to me and I'll help you source what you need. But so blankets underneath the sit bones if you're going to take a meditation practice or to start and ground in a practice that you have, rather than finding a meditation cushion. Seems like an extra piece that we don't necessarily need is a meditation cushion. And then of course, to cover yourself up, to pillow under your head. You can also use a blanket in place of a bolster. So this is a bolster. Long pillows, they come in all different shapes and sizes. This is a small one. It's nice for restorative, so you don't have really intense back bends or too much height from the floor that your body has to drape over. But you can get ones that are much larger and rounder so that you have that additional height. You can get them flat, all different kinds, all different patterns if you wanted to purchase them online. But if you don't, lots of options instead of bolsters. So you can take your blanket and roll it. So I'm rolling it with the short end here, depending on how it's folded. Now you have that density, you can use this as a bolster. You can wrap 2 blankets, now you have a bigger bolster. Depending on how you fold the blanket, you can make it longer. It's all good, regardless of what it is that you're needing. You can probably build that with 1, maybe 2, even 3 blankets, depending on the density and the size that you need. So blankets are incredibly useful for all different things. Bolsters, comfort, Shavasana to keep you cozy and warm at the end of your practice. But there's other things you can bring in to be able to replace your bolster. So, a couple of options. This is just a pillow, a dense pillow. So not one that's like super soft, but one of those ones that you probably have in your house that you toss in a closet because nobody wants to sleep on it because it's too hard, it's too dense. Perfect, grab that one. This one I've taken ribbons and just tied them around. Now if I was going to use this for my practice, I probably would add more ribbons or elastics or whatever you're using to bind it. I'd probably put one at the end and maybe another one in the middle, so this gets a little bit more dense and a little bit longer, something that resembles this shape a little bit more. But this is perfect, just as it is, right? So say we come into a supported fish, especially if you've got a restorative practice, you just want a little bit of comfort. This comes down, it doesn't have a lot of lift through your back bend, but this feels super comfortable. And if you wanted more, then maybe you grab another pillow and add it underneath. Now you have more height. Doesn't really necessarily matter the density of that second pillow. Oh, this feels really great. Your issue here would be making sure that you didn't fall asleep in your pose. So this feels fantastic, super supported, nice and soft for a restorative or a yin practice. This is fantastic. For a hatha practice, this might be a little comfy, but you know, you do what you need in your body when you're practicing. So this feels great in place of a bolster. The other options you have also is, I'm just going to set these aside. So you might have some throw pillows off your sofa. That's what these are. They're pretty dense, right? The ones that you find on your sofa. And in my restorative classes, a lot of times I will suggest to my students they use their bolster for supported bridge, or rather than blocks under the sit bones, just because it's nice and gentle on that space in the body. So 2 of these under your sit bones would be great. They give you lots of lift, so let's come down. This takes a little bit of negotiation, maybe one at a time. So you slide one underneath the sacrum, you decide whether or not that's high enough, maybe not. I can slide the other one under, there we go. It's softer, it's gentle. Now I'm in my supported bridge. Feels really nice. can shift and move any way that I need, but I still have that support underneath my sit bones. I can even come up into that waterfall pose again. And this feels really great because I'm so cradled underneath my sacrum. I don't have that firm base of a block, but that's okay. It actually feels fantastic. And then always taking hold of whatever props you have just to come down, so you can come down nice and safe. Slide the notes, set them aside. So whatever you have at home will work just fine. You can, just explore a little bit. So you try your first practice and you grab a few things and you're like, that didn't really work, or it wasn't enough. So next time you bring in a few more things, or you try a stentor pillow, or you can absolutely have a fantastic home practice with what you have in your house without having to spend a penny on props and still have a fantastic supportive practice. I hope this was helpful, and that if you have any questions at all, you can just pop me a message and I am happy to help. Please take good care in these times. They're so crazy. We just need to take as much time on our mat, take time for ourselves, treat ourselves with kindness, stop and pause and take a deep breath whenever you need. I hope I see you really soon. If not in person, then maybe on live stream so we can practice together. Namaste.